Oh, yeah. Let's get into it. Let's talk DeMeco Day in Houston. Plenty to get to in the introductory press conference. I am Cody Stutes. If you're just finding me, appreciate you tuning into the channel. I hope that you know I'm Cody Stutes because, well, my name's on the channel. Appreciate you. Plenty to get to on this DeMeco Ryans situation. Appreciate the late night crowd here. Talking Texans late. I'm sorry it's so late, but I know folks are up. I know folks want to talk about it, but I know you catch the replay as well. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We're going to talk about DeMeco Ryans' intro press conference and some of the stuff that stood out in that introductory press conference, some of the very fun things about DeMeco Ryans' introductory press conference, and we're going to talk about that over the next little while here live on YouTube. And if you're catching the replay, I appreciate it as well. Matt Marr, Frank Silva, see you guys already. What's up? Appreciate you up late, hanging out. Everyone make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you, Matt Marr, man. I appreciate everybody that likes and subscribes on the videos. Daniel Salas, we're about to have some fun, man. We're going to have some fun. Get in the comment section. What did you like about the DeMeco Ryans press conference? We'll talk about that. There were 4 things that stood out to me. I'm going to start with number one. And that DeMeco Ryans' authenticity jumped off the page. Matt Marr, appreciate the wow, man. That is very generous of you, man. I appreciate the super chat. Super chats go to the front, super chats go to the top. Appreciate you, Matt Marr. Hey, Cap is home, man. The authenticity of DeMeco Ryans jumps off the screen. If you haven't watched the presser, if you haven't listened to the presser, I encourage you to watch it because I think you really, really, really get the full experience. But even if you just hear it, the authenticity that DeMeco Ryans displayed in this press conference was incredible. It was incredible. This is a guy that clearly knows football, clearly loves football, and most of all, loved the opportunity to coach the Houston Texans. That is something that jumped out to me in this press conference. When DeMeco Ryans talked about at the thought of the Texans job being his dream job, I loved hearing that because time after time after time, we heard people talk about this job. It's not that good. Oh, why would he go there? Don't go there. DeMeco Ryans made anybody and everybody that said he shouldn't go to the Houston Texans or wouldn't go to the Houston Texans look silly today. Because DeMeco Ryans said, that's the place I want to be. DeMeco Ryans did not start this year wanting to be simply the head coach of an NFL franchise. DeMeco Ryans spent this year, and certainly this offseason, determining that he wanted to be the head coach of the Houston Texans. And that means something to Houston Texans fans. That means something to this organization. That means something to this fan base. It meant something to me listening to it. When you get your dream job, and you can see at the beginning, DeMeco's still taking it in. It's still kind of hitting him that he is the head coach of the Houston Texans. It still hits him, and he calms down, and he finally settles down. He gets going after it. He gets going and knocking it out, man. It meant something to DeMeco Ryans that the Houston Texans wanted to hand control of this organization to him. And the authenticity, the desire to be here, the desire to be home, which is what he called Houston a bunch of times, as Matt Marr's put it, Cap is home. The super chat. Thank you, Matt Marr. The desire to be here in Houston jumped off of the video. It jumped off the audio. When you read the quotes, it jumps off the page. And I think back to what Lovie Smith had an opportunity to him where the organization pivoted to him, and Lovie's excitement and Lovie's energy never reached that of what DeMeco Ryans had. And David Culley, the credibility and the desire maybe to be the Houston Texans coach. David Culley had never gotten a head coach interview before. Of course he enjoyed the Texans job. It was the only head coach job he'd ever gotten. And even Bill O'Brien. And Bill O'Brien was a shop at the top candidate. You guys know around this channel, if you've listened to the radio show on ESPN 97.5, you know how much I was about shop at the top here this offseason. And Bill O'Brien was a shop at the top candidate, but Bill O'Brien wanted a NFL head coach job. The job Bill O'Brien wants more than anything is the head coach of the New England Patriots. He just wanted a job in the NFL because that could help get him to New England. That could help get him to the New England Patriots. Bill O'Brien still had the Boston Globe delivered to his house. He was never all in on Houston. That's why I kept mentioning it felt like Gary Kubiak a little bit with DeMeco Ryans coming back. Gary Kubiak's a Houstonian, played high school football here, played college ball in the state of Texas, and had an incredible resume before Gary Kubiak became the head coach of the Houston Texans. DeMeco Ryans, yeah, he might have played high school ball in Alabama, and he might have played college ball in Alabama, but he is one of the pieces of this team's history. He is one of the fabric elements of the great years of Texans football. DeMeco Ryans' impact on the field was long-lasting. And now he has the opportunity to make an even larger impact as the head coach. DeMeco Ryans did not simply want to be a head football coach in the National Football League. DeMeco Ryans wanted to be the Houston Texans head football coach. And if that doesn't mean something to the fans, if that doesn't mean something to the McNairs, if that doesn't mean something to everybody that watches this YouTube as we talk about the Texans, and if that doesn't mean something to the people that doubted the Houston Texans, what are you looking for? Because that meant a lot. I thought that jumped off the page. That was my number one thing from this press conference. Not only did DeMeco Ryans feel like it was time to be a head coach, it just so happened it coincided with the opportunity that he deemed the perfect one, that he deemed the dream job. And let me tell you, I've had a dream job before. It's incredible when you get it. And then all the hard work starts. And you got that message from DeMeco too. That's the first thing for me. I got 3 more for you, but I want to get to the comments. You folks are fantastic staying up late with me on a Thursday night. Hell, it's Friday morning now. Let's go. Let's talk some Texans. We'll get into these comments here. Man, Matt Maher, I appreciate it, man. So generous, so kind with the super chat. If you have a super chat, go to the top of the line. We'll answer your questions, your comments, talk about whatever you want to with the super chats. Enzo, appreciate you tuning in. Jose, missed the last stream, but made sure to watch it, man. I appreciate you going back and catching it. If you ever miss anything, you can certainly catch it on the YouTube page. You can catch it just because you don't catch it live. It's more fun live, okay? It's more fun live, but you don't catch it live, man. You can catch it anytime. Rob, man, he's throwing up the H. Man, I can't do like this because it's hook 'em horns. I do this because I went to Texas Tech. But that H, that sideways H, man, I think I can rock with that. They need to get us somebody talk to Apple, get us a sideways one like they've been throwing up at these press conferences, man. The energy he brought was something that this fan base needed. Yes, Jose is absolutely right. You've energized a fan base that has been downtrodden and beaten down, and for an organization that has failed the past couple of years, you've energized them. It is incredible. It is incredible. Daniel finally feels good to be a Texans fan again. Look, I know a lot of people watching, a lot of people listening have been diehard Texans fans. You're watching every game. You're watching every week, even though the team's not very good. Heck, I've been sitting in press boxes for the past 2 years watching this team stink to high heaven most times. They didn't even win a home game this year. But I love every minute of it. That's my team. You know, that's the team I cover. I could separate those two things, my fanhood and how I cover the team as well. And I know being a fan, it's been difficult, but it feels good today. You know how I know it feels good? I got people who don't talk Texans with me trying to talk Texans with me in the text messages. I had a buddy from high school hit me up. He goes, man, DeMeco got me excited. Where can I find your stuff? I said, well, here you go. Here's all the stuff, man. Here's the other people that are doing a good job talking about it too. Here's where you can find the press conference when it happens on Thursday. You know, you have people that I only talk Astros with. I had a 45-minute back-and-forth text message discussion with a group chat of mine that is literally named Super Astros Fun Time. And we talked about the Texans and DeMeco Ryans and why it's exciting that he got hired and how he got hired and why I believe it's such a big deal. And I spent 45 minutes with those guys going back and forth on text messages talking about that. In an Astros group text, that's how exciting DeMeco Ryans is. He mentioned energy vampires. I don't know if everybody's going to get this reference. DeMeco out here being Van Helsing on those energy vampires. He's taking down the energy vampires. None of that. None of that. It's funny how Nosferatu, who is the old, original Dracula and some of the way that you talk about vampires, it's funny how that was a tall, lanky, bald person, looked very devious. Anybody been working at NRG Stadium recently that kind of fit that bill? Anybody at NRG Stadium might have recently been an energy vampire, especially if they were unqualified to do some of the jobs they were asked to do? What's the name of that girl who always talks negative about this club? Josina Anderson? That might be her. I don't know. I don't worry about the negative people, man. Energy vampires are down. No more energy vampires. No more Stephen A. Smith, energy vampire. No more Josina Anderson, energy vampire. No more Denver media, energy vampire. Good vibes only. Good vibes only. So happy to have DeMeco leading us. Man, I'll tell you who's real happy. Old Texans fans, old Texans players, and new Texans players. That press conference was packed. We had the show going live, so I wasn't there. That press conference was packed, baby. I love seeing all those old Texans. The funniest thing today, Brooks Kamina tweeted about this. The funniest thing I saw today, they started taking pictures after DeMeco's press conference, and they put all his old teammates up there with him, and they got off the stage. And then Brian Cushing tells John Weeks, get back up there, John. You're one of his current teammates, too. A little overlap there for Johnny Weeks. I just need Colin No-Herd to quit trying to poison this, what people think of this football town. Energy vampire. No, thank you. Put a stake through the Colin Cowherd opinions. Energy vampire. Make simple things look complex. We'll talk about that. Okay, I got 4 things. The first one is DeMeco Ryans' authenticity. Okay, we'll talk about this, what Carlos is talking about right now as well. Have a good feeling. We're going to the playoffs if they hit on the draft of the QB. And I tell you what, I'd have run through a wall for DeMeco Ryans, and I'm sure a lot of those players are going to do some of the same things, man. Some of the same things. Colin Cowherd hates the Texans. Mash that like button. Frank, you're too kind, man. Talon, Carlos, appreciate your comments. Daniel, big step in the right direction. Even Nick looks more relaxed. Man, no vest, Nick Caserio, and he's out there cracking jokes. Has Caserio got a set at the Improv in a couple of days? Is he the new opener at the Houston Improv? I love that. I love Caserio loose. You know how good it feels for Nick Caserio to have another elite football mind in the building? You think the conversations that Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans have been having over the past few days have been anywhere close to what the conversations were like when David Culley and Lovie Smith were in the building? I bet you Nick Caserio wakes up in the middle of the night and texts DeMeco ideas. They've been co-workers for 4 days. I bet he wakes up in the middle of the night. Hey, DeMeco, what do you think about this free agent? Hey, I was thinking about this guy, maybe moving this guy to this position. What do you think about it? Could you coach him? Nick Caserio waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning texting DeMeco ideas. I wish I could draw, because I'd draw that as a little cartoon. Maybe send it into the Chronicle. Quentin Swift, where Colin was right. Ain't going to be talking about the Texans this week. He won't write about the Texans. Frank Silva, feels great, man. Yeah, feels great. I got 3 more things from the press conference, 4 big takeaways, 3 more things we'll get to. But I like y'all's comments right now, man, having some fun. We got guys, not only the top head coach candidate, not named Sean Payton in this cycle, but a guy who loves the city of Houston and loves the Houston Texans. That's huge. That's huge. Yeah, the familiar faces, man, from the Brian Cushings and the Andre Johnsons to the Wade Smiths, the Travis Johnsons, to the players. The players, we'll get to them here in a minute. Feel good to have a nice crowd at NRG Stadium. Boy, I tell you what, even when they're good, they show up about 15 minutes late, but it's still going to be fun. Felt like a pep rally. Kind of did, man. It kind of did. All the Texans X's were amazing. Things are finally changing, Stoots. Miko is him. I sure hope so, man. I sure hope so. This is my favorite so far. It's the part where Tommy Boy begins to save the company. Was DeMeco Ryans hiring DeMeco Ryans was figuring out that he could get some hot wings at the restaurant in Tommy Boy. That's what it was. You know, I know you turned off the fryer, but I really like some of those hot wings. He starts getting the roll, and he's like, I freaking love that movie. Maybe this is where Tommy Boy saves the company. All right, so I mentioned I got 4 things. 4 things from the press conference. And why do we do 4 things and not 5 things? Because 4 is a football number. You get 4 downs to get a first down. 4 things from the press conference that really, really jumped off the page to me. 1 was DeMeco's authenticity. Number two on this was the DeMeco Ryans winning over of Nick Caserio. DeMeco Ryans winning over Nick Caserio is clearly how this went down. Listening to the way Nick talked about it and listening to the way Cal talked about it and just kind of feeling the vibe from that conversation. Okay? It definitely feels like Nick Caserio, who made it very clear, didn't know a lot about DeMeco Ryans. And he said from the jump, came off as a high-level guy. I mean, Caserio, mind you, they talked a couple of weeks ago on a Zoom for however long. And then they talked this week in ongoing discussions. And then he's been hired. And Caserio's already got an example of like, yeah, actually, DeMeco, we were talking about one of the safeties that he had, and the guy was good at this, but maybe not good at this, and DeMeco put him in a position to succeed, and now he's an all-pro. And it's like, can you imagine how much fun Nick Caserio's having talking to DeMeco Ryans? And it was important for DeMeco to win over Nick Caserio because Caserio could have had his guy in here, a guy that was going to be subservient to him, was always going to answer to him, and it wasn't going to necessarily be a partnership or collaboration like they talked about today. It was going to be kind of Nick Caserio calling the shots, and that guy he's going to coach the team. Coach the team. That's not what it feels like with DeMeco Ryans, especially when DeMeco Ryans tells a story and says, yeah, we're sitting there in the 5th round, 6th round of the draft, and Kyle Shanahan looked at me, and he said, there's 2 linebackers on the board we love. What do you think? And DeMeco's like, yeah, I really wanted one of those linebackers. That would have been awesome. And then Shanahan's like, what about this running back? And DeMeco's like, actually, that running back's awesome. I need the linebackers, but we'll figure it out. Get the running back. And Elijah Mitchell helped them be the number 2 seed in the NFC. It may be because DeMeco Ryans was good to have a conversation with the decision maker in San Francisco because Shanny runs everything in San Francisco. Well, there was a great story that DeMeco told. So winning over Nick Caserio with his enthusiasm, with his football knowledge, with his coaching acumen, with the examples that DeMeco Ryans can take and can say, I had a hand in this. They talked about Fred Warner at length today. Fred Warner, the former mid-round pick that's turned into an all-pro linebacker. My hair is a disaster. Screw it. Fred Warner. They talked about Fred Warner a lot today. Yeah, Fred Warner might have been good with any coach. That guy's a beast. I'm not excited about the Fred Warners. Like, obviously, I want a Fred Warner. That's great. I'm excited about the guys that go from rotational players to good players. I'm excited about the guys that go from good players to great players. I'm excited about finding a new height to great players under DeMeco Ryans. That's what I'm excited about. And part of that, the coaching and how well he's coached guys and what he has talked about to Nick Caserio clearly in the time where they've had these conversations about what he wants to achieve as the coach and how you need to get these men to believe in you. And it's not exactly how much you know, it's how much you can create a relationship with them. He clearly won Nick Caserio over. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 1, the extreme authenticity of DeMeco Ryans. That $1 million smile. The excitement that he and his family have. Number 2, winning over Nick Caserio. We'll get to 3 and 4 in a minute. Let's get to some of your comments here. Talon Green. I think Derek Stingley will go off this year. We're going to talk about Derek Stingley and the football stuff here in just a minute. Football stuff's going to be number 3. Howie talked about the football stuff. It's going to be number 3. Nick loves DeMeco. Feel like we are a whole now. Man, collaboration was a word that those guys use. A partnership is a word that Nick Caserio used. We've been saying it on this channel, man. It behooves Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans to work together and create a long-lasting working relationship. That's the best thing for Nick Caserio, and that's the best thing for DeMeco Ryans. It is good that they are not the same guy. You want people to challenge each other. And I tell you what, I think I'd pay $19.99 a month to get some pay-per-views of those guys talking football, just debating a prospect. This is football nerdom at its best. They're drafting Black CMC at 12. Fits the play style. Boy, David, I hope you're right. That would be Bijan Robinson for everybody. David goes on there, adds it in there now. Bijan Robinson. Caleb, don't get ahead of us now. We're going to come back to this. Just up in the middle of the night video watching the Texans about the Texans being a Bears fan. I just love watching football. But good luck, Houston, with DeMeco. Hey, send us that first overall pick. We'll give you 33. Just send us that first overall pick, Victor. Appreciate you, man. You think Frank Ross stays Pep as QB's coach? I do believe Frank Ross will stay. I do. I do believe Frank Ross will stick around and coach the special teams. I hope he does at the very least. But I really believe he'll stick around and be the special teams coach. I don't believe Pep Hamilton will be back in any way, shape, or form. I don't. Frank would make a great Hard Knocks for sure. You can say yes to Hard Knocks. If Hard Knocks wants the Texans, then yes, they can do Hard Knocks. The Texans don't have to do Hard Knocks if they don't want to, if they think it might be too much in the first year. But they don't have to, and they have the out of being a new head coach, so DeMeco doesn't have to do it. But if they want to, they can. I actually want the Texans, if they're going to do Hard Knocks, to do the in-season Hard Knocks, which sounds goofy because a lot of people don't watch it as much as the regular one, but I actually think it's way better. Talent. I heard Matt Schaub today. I was impressed. Do you think he'd make a great QB coach for us? I don't know. We talked to Matt Schaub today on the radio program. And Schaub was fun, man. He was excited. We've had Matt Schaub on the show before, and he wasn't that excited to talk Texans. I mean, they were getting their ass kicked every week. They stunk. Today, I mean, he opens it up. We're like, hey, Matt Schaub. And he's like, hey, great day to be a Texan. This is awesome. Fantastic. You know, I was giving Schaub a hard time there. He's like, you get a young guy, you got to pair him up with an old guy. And I was like, hey, is that old guy going to be Matt Schaub? And he's like, no, I'm good. I'm done. Even though Brady played till the middle of forever, I'm done. And then so Jake asked him, like, hey, what about QB coach? He said, I'm not turning down any phone calls. I don't know if Matt Schaub wants to coach. I don't know if Matt Schaub desires a coaching spot. But I'll tell you this. If old Matt Schaub wants to coach, it sounds like DeMeco would listen, man. It sounds like DeMeco would certainly listen. So, Andrew Carlson. Andrew produces on ESPN 97.5. He produces the Wheelhouse, weighs in on the Wheelhouse as well. Andrew is a fun guy to hang out with. If you like the Cougs, follow Andrew on Twitter at Carlson Radio. And he's a great job. He helps keep our show together. And he plays part-time therapist for yours truly when I'm having a tough day. I'm like, Andrew, I don't like this or that. And he's like, well, okay, just, suck it up, buttercup. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So I'll give Andrew love. He had a hell of a day today producing the show, and he crushed it. Steve, don't get ahead of ourselves now. We're going to talk quarterback here in a second. We're saving that for number 4. That's number 4. We'll get to number 3 here in just a second. Get some more comments. Would you mind picking players to do good in the XFL, USFL instead of drafting? You can add them both. You don't have to draft those guys. You can just sign them as free agents. If we want that first overall pick, just offer a second overall and Brandon Cooks. Yeah, second round pick of Brandon Cooks. Take it, Chicago. Give us the number 1 pick. Yeah, second overall pick of Brandon Cooks, and we'll take that first overall pick. Do people not believe in Dameon Pierce, Bijan, the first 2 rich considering our needs? Slim Hardaway brings up a good point, man. We'll talk about this for a second. Bijan will change the game for you when he has the ball in his hands. And I believe adding someone to the rotation with Dameon Pierce creates Dameon Pierce's it changes his level of ability to impact the game. They have other needs, but you know what they really need? Playmakers. And you know what Bijan is a playmaker. I believe in Bijan Robinson. I believe you will draft him in your first round of fantasy drafts this year, and it will pay off for you, depending on where he goes. I would hope he goes to the Texans, but if he goes to the Eagles, first round pick. First round pick in fantasy. He might score 15 touchdowns if he goes to the Eagles. They got the 10th overall pick. Something to think about. Yeah, there's other running backs I like, not as much as Bijan. They don't have that type of dynamic stuff. Caserio will know best about Dameon Pierce, and I would think will appropriately add the talent around him to maximize Pierce as well as the guys they add. Andrew asks a really good question. Is there value to keeping Brandon Cooks around if he legit wants to be here? Too little, too late to me, Brandon Cooks. Too little, too late. That guy's a traitor. That guy's a turncoat. That guy's a quitter. That guy's a liar. Okay? He signed this extension and was all in, and the moment his buddy Jack Easterby got fired, he wanted to get traded. He quit on this team in the middle of the season, wouldn't even play for him, was pouting that he wouldn't get traded. So he was mad about that. He's crying about that, so he wouldn't even play a game when they needed him. And then he goes on Twitter and says, oh, he's going to air out the organization. He's going to say all this stuff. I can't rock with Brandon Cooks. I like Foxhole guys, okay? You're going to hear me use some terms here over the next anytime you talk to me about football and stuff like that. In life, you need foxhole guys. It goes back to the old World War I stuff where you need a guy in there with you that you trust completely and wholly. You'll hear that old school football coaches talk about foxhole guys in the NFL. Brandon Cooks, not a foxhole guy. Another term you hear me use, I'm going to prepare you guys for this term, and I'm going to get made fun of on the radio show for saying it, but that's why we have the YouTubes, because hopefully nobody's going to be making fun of me for this. War daddy. War daddies are elite ass kickers in the NFL. An example of a war daddy is an Aaron Donald, a Nick Bosa, a Travis Kelce, a war daddy. 17 games plus the playoffs. You know that guy is showing up and kicking everybody's ass. The Texans got to find a war daddy. Okay? Most teams have a lot of them. The 49ers got like 4 of them. Okay? They got Kittle, McCaffrey, Bosa, and Warner. The Texans got to get 1. The Texans do not currently have a war daddy. Got to get a war daddy. I'm with Caleb. Let Brandon Cooks go. Remember, we got 2 more things on the 4 things to the DeMeco presser. And when I get through the 4 things, we'll just do comments and BS for the rest of the night. But I want to get to those other 2 things. And we'll get to them here. The last one's going to be about the quarterback, so hang on. Cool seeing all the old players around the organization. That was cool, man. It is cool to see the vibes with those players, to see those old players around. And those are guys that are, I mean, we played with them in Madden. We would add them to our Madden teams. We would, maybe some of them, you had to kind of boost their stats a little bit. But Brian Cushing is a guy that's around the organization for DeMeco, with DeMeco now, and talks positively and incredibly about DeMeco Ryans. And obviously Andre Johnson, I was telling Andrew this when we saw a video during the show as we were getting ready for the press conference. Andre Johnson walked down the hallway with a giant smile on his face. When does Andre smile? I've seen him smile like 10 times in his life. He got the red jacket and the Ring of Honor. He smiled then. He beat Cortland Finnegan's ass. He smiled then. He scored a game-winning touchdown. He smiled then. I don't know if I can name the other 7. Andre walking down the hallway smiling, man. That got me feeling pumped. Whiskey or rum? Whiskey. Right. Whiskey. Good question. It could be your whiskey if you own a whiskey company or have a whiskey preference. It could be your whiskey for a sponsorship thing. But until then, it'll be remaining nameless. It will remain nameless until then. No freebies. For when you get talking football, let's hear your thoughts about D-Hop coming back with us, along with drafting a Johnson Assis for the Jua. All right, we'll table that one. We'll come back to it. If you have some draft stuff, we can stack some of those up. I'll star them. I want to get to those last 2 things. I want a pair of those. I probably can't afford them because they're probably a very nice, real type of leather. I can't afford them, but Cal's custom Texans boots were very cool. If they don't draft QB at 2, they should trade back mainly go defensive picks this year. I disagree, George. If they're going to take a QB at 2, get a war daddy. There's 2 from the defensive side. There's Jalen Carter and that is Will Anderson. Will Anderson. Blank Brandon Cooks by Felicia. Desmond King, Foxhole guy. I agree. Cook's not a swarm guy. That's going to be a DeMeco acronym. Everybody get used to it. Everybody get used to swarm. That's going to be a DeMeco acronym. Because then you can see more legends around similar to Andre Johnson. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, he said it there. He said it there. Dang, 73 in minutes. Missed the 59 point. Yeah, man, I was hoping. Yeah, that's a good point. I wasn't paying attention to that. Tank Dell, Texans steal. Maybe. Need an Andre Johnson back in the NRG. Yeah, maybe. Andre should be the guy who just walks around NRG making sure there's funny business going on. Yeah, I could see Andre actually being a little troublemaker here in his older age. Just giving everybody a hard time. Talking about a time DeMeco had to defend him in practice, and he got DeMeco. Having some fun. All right, other two things. I told you there's four things that really jumped off the page to me from the DeMeco Ryans presser. His authenticity was number one. Number two was how he clearly won Nick Caserio over. Here's number three. There was some high-level football stuff coming out of DeMeco when he talked about football. High-level football stuff. When he talked about his coaching staff, he said, I want a diverse coaching staff. Not just from the ethnicity of the coaching staff. I want young guys. I want old guys. I want guys who are there to coach and teach our guys. When the hell have we had a coach talk about how important their coaching staff is and how they want their coaching staff? You know what B.O.B.'s coaching staff was? All of his friends. Bill O'Brien hired a bunch of his friends to be his coaches. Okay? The conversation about the coaching staff really got me excited. The precision line about the offense was really good. I really liked that. And then the one that kind of from the football standpoint that jumped out to me really big, 2 years ago, David Culley, who had a background in offense, 2 years ago, David Culley at the press conference said, if we got to punt, we'll punt and play defense. Today, DeMeco Ryans talked about, we're going to try to make big plays in the passing game after saying they're going to be balanced, after saying they're going to be tough as hell. And he said, when we check the ball down, we're going to check the ball down to a playmaker, and that playmaker is going to go out there and make a big play for us. And I'm like, 2 years ago, we were talking about punting because we couldn't get the first down, and now DeMeco's saying on a check down, it's going to a playmaker for a first down. And I'm like, yes, please. Yes, please. Like, the football stuff, man. The story about Kyle Shanahan, that was football stuff that was really good. His coaching staff, the way he talked about offense, the way he talked about the defense. And my God, the way he talked about Derek Stingley got me so damn excited. Got me so damn excited, the way he talked about Derek Stingley. He basically guaranteed Derek Stingley is going to go out there and kick ass next year. I know that's not what he said, but he said he's going to put him in positions to make plays. Stingley was guarding patches of grass last year. You know what he's doing? He's going to be stuck to number one wide receivers' asses this year, knocking down passes and picking balls off. I'm so freaking excited for the Derek Stingley thing. When they're talking about this San Fran safety that didn't do this well, did do this well, and turns into a Pro Bowler, I was thinking about Jalen Petrie. And then DeMeco's talking about Jalen Petrie, and he's like, I loved what he saw at Baylor. Absolutely nasty in the blitz and this and that. And I'm thinking, well, what does Petrie going to do? Well, he didn't tackle well. It's like, well, DeMeco's going to fix that. DeMeco's going to help that. Man, I was pumped. Talking about Christian Harris and the speed that he brings to the table. And DeMeco's football stuff, that was number 3 on the list. His authenticity, the fact that he won over Nick Caserio, and just talking about the football stuff was number 3. We'll get to number 4 here in just a moment. But Joe Blue has a comment. 59 jersey with coach are fire. Those are going to sell. Man, I think they're going to sell a lot of 59 Ryans jerseys. They're going to sell a lot of 59 coach jerseys. I'm digging the 59 coach jersey. Joe, thank you so much, my friend, for the super chat. That is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. If you guys have a super chat, you go to the top of the line, you go to the first in line, or we're talking questions and stuff like that. We're going to do mailbag shows, which are not actually mailbag shows. They're just comment shows, which basically turns into Ask Me Anything. We're going to do those maybe on Mondays and stuff like that. We got lots of fun stuff planned. So super chats are going to be awesome. I appreciate that. Helps me pour back into the show, man. It helps me pour back into the show. You'll get me a little banner so you're not staring at this ugly white wall. Okay. I actually might start doing the show standing up, which is kind of something. You guys don't care about that. Y'all want to talk football. Let's talk football. Let's talk football. Andrew's right. This made me so excited when he talked about Stingley. This made me excited. The healthy Stingley is going to be a monster next year. The healthy Stingley is going to be a monster next year. Once again, Joe, thank you so much for the super chat. You're too kind. You're too kind. Hit the like button if you'd like, the subscribe button if you like. It's down below. All right. What was number 4? Cody, you've been saying number 4. Number 4. You've been making us wait. Number 4. What is it? What is it? Caleb talked about. Love when he said about having a quarterback. Love what he said about having a quarterback. Steven's got another comment on it too. We only have one quarterback on the roster. We got to add some more. Here's what I heard about the quarterbacks. Now I want to see if you guys heard the same thing. Okay? And if I'm off base, I want you to tell me. But here's what I heard when DeMeco Ryans talked about the quarterback position. And I want to get some of his exact comments here for you about the quarterback. And what I heard when he talked about the quarterback position made me really excited for the upcoming draft and made me really excited for the way that they're going to put this thing together. So DeMeco Ryans said, hey, we have one quarterback on the roster. We need to add some more. Okay. That basically says, hey, Davis Mills, this ain't your job. We're going to go get some more. I have to add more to that position. We know everybody gets excited about the quarterback. The quarterback is one piece to a team. As I've seen in San Francisco, what happens when you don't have that one guy? Is the season over? Are you just booking it? No. How do you build around that quarterback? Yes, we want a great quarterback, but no, we need a great offensive line to protect the quarterback. We need great running backs, great tight ends, great receivers. We need a great defense, special teams. We all play together. That's the awesome part about football. It's not just one guy's shoulders to go out there and win the game for us. It's all about building around each other and playing together. That's how we'll win games. Some of that is stock coaching stuff, okay? Some of that's stock coaching stuff. But here's what I really heard. Here's what I heard when DeMeco Ryans talked about the quarterback. He said, without saying it, you don't have to be Trevor Lawrence. You don't have to be Joe Burrow. You don't have to be Andrew Luck. You don't have to be this top number one, no doubter, no questions about you, perfect prospect. You've got to be a good quarterback. And we're going to put everything around you to make you a great and an incredible quarterback. You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes. You just have to do things well, and we're going to put pieces around you. That's what I heard. And my God, if that ain't C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, I'd be shocked. DeMeco Ryans, talking about the quarterback, basically said, you do not have to be a superstar at that position. We'll put a team around you that will make everybody a superstar. And I loved hearing that about the quarterback because these guys know the signal caller is the most important thing. These guys know how valuable it is to have that position taken care of. Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans know exactly what the quarterback situation is for the Texans. They know exactly who they can go get. But the way DeMeco talked about it sounded to me like he said, you do not have to be an incredible quarterback to play quarterback for me. Be good at what you do. We're going to put players around you to maximize that, and we're going to go to the next level. That's what it felt like to me when he talked about the quarterbacks. That's what it felt like to me when he talked about the quarterbacks, that, yes, we want a great quarterback, but we're going to put a team around that player to make him a great quarterback. That's what it felt like to me. You don't have to be an amazing, incredible, no doubt can't miss quarterback. So to me, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and maybe even Will Levis and Anthony Richardson are very much in play for the Houston Texans. Very much in play. Sean asks this, and I think this is important. So it doesn't mean we're drafting a quarterback. That could be a Jimmy G, Derek Carr, and build around them, or maybe draft. Yes, I do think the conversation also opens the door for a good, not great veteran. I don't believe that's the ideal way to go about it, but I do believe the door is open for that. Okay? If you to me, it felt like it was talking about this guy doesn't have to be that can't miss, no doubt quarterback prospect. We have to put a team around him to make him that. Okay? To make him that. Just plain Dave, you are too kind. Thank you. Just plain Dave. If you don't hit that like button, you're a sorry Cowboy fan. If you don't hit that like button, you are a sorry Cowboy fan. Just plain Dave, that is some funny stuff, man. That is some funny stuff. You are too kind. You are too kind. Thank you for the super chat. If you guys have a super chat, your comment, your question goes right to the top. Thank you. Thank you. Does that mean that they open the door for Davis Mills? No. I mean, Davis Mills' name wasn't even mentioned today. We got one quarterback on the roster. We're going to get some more. No Davis Mills. I do not believe so, Steven. Please not another car on this team. Well, the O-line's a lot better this time now, bud. The O-line's way better. Okay, we talked about, God, let's see if any Texans fans remember this guy's name. We talked about Todd Wade on the show this week. And actually, when you click his Wikipedia picture, it's his Texans uniform. Yeah, but Todd Wade was supposed to be this guy that was going to just solve all the Texans' offensive line problems. His offensive tackle who played it for the Dolphins, and Charlie Cashley signed him, and Todd Wade sucked. Okay? Todd Wade was bad. All right? I'm this excited since we were up 24-0 on the Chiefs. Boy, some Texans fans were excited about this. I was nervous. Turns out I was right. Mills in year 3, better coaching players, better than Hooker and Richardson. Yeah, I'm not in love with Anthony Richardson or Hendon Hooker's going to be a mid-round pick at quarterback. I'm not in love with that. I prefer one of the top 2 quarterbacks at number 2. I think we're actually back towards being relevant. On that path, man. Al Online, man, certainly feels like we are on that path. There was one question that earlier Steven asked that I said we get to. And at this point, fire away the questions in the comments. My observations for the DeMeco press conference are finished. If you missed those, you can rewind the video and catch those. But it was DeMeco's authenticity. It was how he won Nick Caserio over. It was how fun and interesting the football conversations, the nerdy football stuff was. And then the quarterback conversation, which made it feel like they would take one of the young guys. Because those guys aren't can't-miss prospects, but would be intriguing guys for the Houston Texans. Steven, before you get to talking football, let's hear your thoughts about D-Hop coming back, along with us drafting a Johnston, Addison, Smith, and Jigba at 12. Man, sure would love a wide receiver at 12. Sure would love that. That would be a fun one. And Jackson Smith and Jigba is my favorite from that group. Rasheem Rice from SMU. Rasheem Rice? Rasheem Rice. There's no M. Rasheem Rice from SMU. It's getting some love at the Senior Bowl. That's a name that maybe I'd look for at 33 if you don't go wide receiver at 12. I don't believe DeAndre Hopkins would come back. Hop's looking for a winner and lots of money, and I just don't know that that's really what the Texans want to do right now. Maybe down the road, Hopkins can mend fences with the organization since there's no Easterby, there's no Bill O'Brien. He wasn't exactly the biggest Cal McNair fan, though, from what it seems like. So, all right, Talon asks about the OC. Who do you think is most likely to be our new OC? Rod also asks, who do you like for the OC? I like Bobby Slowick, okay? They've interviewed 3 names so far. Bobby Slowick is the pass game coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. And the pass game coordinator, a run game coordinator is usually the the precursor to being the offensive coordinator. And Slowick, apparently, they still want him in San Francisco. So I would think they want him in San Francisco because they want to make him the offensive coordinator. And if he goes to San Francisco, or if he stays in San Francisco and is the offensive coordinator, he's not calling plays. Shanahan calls the plays. So coming to Houston, Slowick is interesting, man. Comes from a football family. His dad was a defensive coordinator in the NFL for a long time, with like 3 different teams. And he actually started coaching defense in Washington. He started as a video intern for Mike Shanahan, and then he was a defensive quality control assistant. And he coached on defense initially in Washington and in San Francisco. And they moved him over to the offensive side of the ball, and he's kind of been like a little fast riser. 35 years old, would be a really intriguing offensive coordinator name. He's my favorite of the guys they've talked to, okay? Troy Walters, who is the Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers coach, was a Blitnikoff Award winner in college, which means he was the best wide receiver in the nation for Stanford. Had about an 8-year NFL career and then got into coaching pretty much right away and had a pretty solid coaching career and has kind of climbed the ladder. Last 3 years in Cincinnati, 1 as the assistant wide receivers coach, the past 2 as the wide receivers coach. A little bit older than Slowick and some of these other guys, but an intriguing name nonetheless. And the other guy's name is Nick Caserio, who is the tight ends coach for the New England Patriots. And let me tell you, I have no interest in Nick Caserio. 1, he couldn't be the offensive coordinator when the Patriots were dying for an offensive coordinator. I think that's number 1. Number 2, the tight end group for New England has not been good the past couple of years. It hadn't been good since Gronk left. He's been the coach for the tight end group for a while. 3, he's only been the tight end coach. He hasn't had a bunch of other jobs in the NFL. He hasn't been on some other positions. He had fullbacks for a while with his tight end designation, but then they got rid of the fullbacks coaching from him. Why is that? The Windhorst. Why would they do that? Not as exciting as Bobby Slowick or even Troy Walters was. So don't love Nick Caserio. So that's the 3 guys they've talked to. Just plain Dave. Since Kingsbury might not be the OC, who else do you think can be RC? Love the show, bro. Just plain Dave. Kingsbury's still in play. I don't know if DeMeco wants to talk to him. I don't know if the Texans want him. I don't know if Kingsbury wants to coach again. But he's not out of the conversation. Alabama is likely going to hire Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator from Notre Dame, which is a really weird move for Alabama. I believe Kingsbury was going to be an Alabama target. So to have Alabama off the table and Cliff not going there is really good. Now, there's other offensive coordinator options in the league, and Cliff doesn't have to coach this year. He's getting paid and sit around. And if he don't want to come back as an OC, Cliff can sit out a year. He'll get head coach consideration in different places. Brian Johnson is a name that I would think about. He is the quarterback's coach for Philadelphia. Was in Houston in 2017. I don't know that it went really well in Houston in 2017 for him, but he's kind of coached himself. He's been coached up a little bit the past couple of years. Was the play caller and quarterbacks coach. Was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach when Kyle Trask threw for 43 touchdowns a year after he threw for like 23 and threw for over 4,000 yards. So Brian Johnson's got a little fun to him. And Zach Robinson. Now, if you're an old Big 12 fan, you'll remember Zach Robinson's name. Zach Robinson is on Sean McVay's staff in L.A. Robinson played football for Oklahoma State and played for a while and then got his start in the NFL in, drumroll please, the New England Patriots. Was on the Patriots practice squad before he was on the regular season roster with the Seattle Seahawks and the Detroit Lions that year. Was around coaching for a couple of years and then, was around the NFL for a couple more years and then was out of the public eye from 2014 to 2019. Well, you know what he did for a while? he was at Pro Football Focus. He was a media guy. He did a podcast, and he did Pro Football Focus analyzation, and he was so impressive, he wanted to get in coaching, and boom, McVay scooped him up. And he's been in Los Angeles for the past 4 seasons, assistant quarterbacks coach, assistant wide receivers coach, assistant quarterbacks coach, pass game coordinator / quarterbacks coach this past season. Zach Robinson's a really fun name, really fun and intriguing name, and I'm interested to see exactly what happens there with him. He's a fun name. So Kingsbury is my number 1. Robinson would be my number 2. Brian Johnson would be my number 3. And then Slowick would be my number 4. But of the guys that have interviewed, Slowick is my top 1. Okay? Does that make sense? Will Cal drop a Texans exclusive boot? God, I hope so. I hope they're not too expensive either. I'd go up to the team store tomorrow and buy those if they were less than $200. I mean, they're just black boots with a Texans logo on it. I'm not sure Cal's got ostrich or a gator or something. I just need the cheap stuff, man. If it was under $200, I'd have Texans boots. Andrew asks a question. Any chance they spend some of their cap on a vet QB who would compete and grab young Stroud or waste the resources with the current state of the roster? I don't like that commitment of resources because if you're going to spend money, spend on a vet that knows he's not going to play. Like, overpay that guy to sit around and coach the young guy. I don't necessarily believe in fugazi quarterback competitions where you sort of bring in a veteran, set him up to fail, and the young guy beats him. I do wonder if there's a hope that the guy's ready to play right away so they don't have to play a veteran for a few weeks. I just don't want a Deshaun Watson situation where the vet's down after the first half and the rookie's coming in at that point. So that's just not what I want. Once again, just plain Dave, man, thank you for the super chat. If you guys have super chats, send them in. You go to the top of the line. We'll answer your question first. Oh, he's got another one. Just plain Dave, you're the best. Thank you. Do you think with the hire at Ryans, do you think big name free agents will look to the Texans since Ryan made a great name for himself? Yes and no. Here's how you get guys to look at your team in free agency. You pay them the most. And there's a bad team tax to going to a bad team, even though you're paying the most. You pay just a little bit more, okay? You pay just a little bit more with the bad team tax. You pay just a little bit more. So, yes, eventually veterans will pick the Texans and you won't pay the bad team tax if DeMeco's good and they start winning. Right now, though, DeMeco doesn't have a significant effect on free agents. Maybe it has an effect on who you target, but you're not saving any money because they're excited to play for DeMeco Ryans. These guys are excited to play for dollar bills, y'all. Dollar bills, y'all. That's what they're excited to play for. Just plain Dave, man. Thank you so much for the super chat. That is very kind of you. Very nice of you. Thank you once again. Just plain Dave with the super chat. If you have a super chat, you go to the top of the list. What are your thoughts on Zay Flowers? Boston College wide receiver, has made some incredible catches, had some quarterback inconsistency this year. And here's what I like about Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers was offered a lot of money to transfer this year from Boston College, and he told everybody to stick it. He stuck around with his Boston College teammates this year, and that team stunk and was probably going to stink. And I think that's really cool because that guy could have made not Jordan Addison money to move teams, but Zay Flowers could have been on a big-time college team playing in some big-time games for some big-time money, and he stuck around at BC with his teammates. I think that was cool. Michael Romero, by the way, I'm in on getting Zay Flowers. I think that guy's a freaking baller. Okay, if he goes in the second round, he could have an impact like some of these other second-round wide receivers who've been good damn near right away, like a DK. I'm not saying he's the same type of player, but like DK was good right away. T. Higgins helped right away. Like he could be that type of guy right away if he goes in the second round. He might be in the first round. And the combine might be great for him. Michael asks about it. Al Online asks about it. I have no idea if Cushing wants to coach again. He did a little bit of coaching with Bill O'Brien and company. I don't know if Cushing wants to coach again. I got to think DeMeco's going to have a hand-picked linebackers coach that he feels really good about because that's his baby, the linebackers. So I got to think he's have a pretty hand-picked quarterback coach. What do you think about every ex-player asked about help coaching and everyone not declining to help? What you think about every ex-player asked about help coaching and everyone not declining to help? I think these guys will do whatever DeMeco wants them to do, man. They clearly rock with DeMeco and are buddies with DeMeco and are proud of him. And Matt Schaub talked about when DeMeco and the 49ers came to Atlanta, he got to hang out with DeMeco and talk football with him. So Ryans clearly is a high-level communicator and has kept in touch with a lot of these guys. So I think if any of these guys, if DeMeco believes they can help and he'll ask for their help, then boom. Hey, Cody, which big name could you see us possibly signing? I was looking at the list today, the free agency list today, and it was ESPN's free agency list, and it was their top 50 or something like that. I think that's what it was. It was their top 50 free agents, and I was looking at it, and I think defensive line is kind of where I'm looking, like defensive line / defensive end. And the name that jumps off the page is Javon Hargrave. Best pass rush win rate in the NFC this year. And that's behind only Kansas City's Chris Jones and, recognize this name? Houston's Malik Collins. So imagine having the number 2 and number 3 pass rush win rate defensive tackles. Now, Hargrave's going to be expensive. I saw a projection today he might make $15 million a year. The Texans may not be willing to invest that for a guy, but that's a guy that I would chase and target. I'm thinking about one of these inside linebackers too. Like if Levante David wanted to kind of come over be the linebacker while Harris kind of teams up with him to kind of grow into that position. Again, I don't have a total grasp on exactly what DeMeco wants from a free agency standpoint. I got to talk to more football people to understand that, but I would think there's going to be one big ticket item, maybe 2 big ticket items this free agency. Daniel says Deuce Vaughn to team up with Pierce. Ooh, I love Deuce Vaughn. You don't have to sell me on Deuce Vaughn. I love Deuce Vaughn. Kansas State running back. He's about yay tall. Okay, about yay tall. Lightning quick. Lightning quick. He's Darren Sproles. You're like, okay, he's a little guy. Of course, they're the same guy. Deuce Vaughn can have that kind of impact on your team. What are your thoughts on the Foster's comments on the NFL being rigged? Arian was leaning into a joke, and it was funny. It would be harder to rig the NFL than let it play out. Like for anybody that believes that it's rigged, it would be harder to coach them to make it look that way. It would be harder to have that be a performance than to just let it happen from a randomness of football standpoint. The NFL is not rigged. And if it is, they have the greatest scriptwriters in the history of mankind. Where was JJ tonight? I don't know. Probably with the fam at home. I think he kind of sent his well wishes via Twitter today. Also, to an extent, I do wonder if there's a tiny bit of like overshadow if JJ shows up. Not overshadow, but takes a little of the shine away. It's like, oh, there's JJ back in the building for the first time. I think there's going to be an off-season JJ moment. It didn't need to be today. So I think he kind of sent his love from Twitter because he didn't want to take any shine off of DeMeco whatsoever. He didn't want anybody focusing on him. He wanted people focusing on DeMeco Ryans. I really want to see a DeMeco and Dusty interview. Yeah, actually, I kind of do too. Curious about with the DeMeco hiring. Would the Texans be at the top of the list ahead of the Colts, Panthers, and Raiders for these QB prospects? When you mean a top of the list, I'm guessing you mean like where they would want to go. Guys want to go as high as possible because they get paid the most, and they'll figure it out after that. Maybe somebody has like a small desire to go to this team instead of that team. Like maybe you want to go to the Raiders because you like Vegas, or maybe you want to go to the Colts because you think you can win faster. But I would think these guys want to go as high as possible and make the most money as possible. What do you think about Eric Bieniemy for OC? Doesn't seem like it fits as well as it should. I wonder if Bieniemy wants the job here. / I wonder if DeMeco would be interested in him because he previously interviewed for the head coach job. So might be a tough fit. And I think Bieniemy's going to have some other opportunities. Plus, I would think with his experience interviewing and being a part of the success in Kansas City, 1 year of Eric Bieniemy probably gets him hired away if he's good. So you may not want to enter into an OC situation with a guy who's only going to be here 1 year. Like, obviously, if your guy's good and he's gone after 2 years, great. But the 1 year thing might be enough to keep Bieniemy from being an option here. What about Jacoby Brissett as a QB option with the draft pick? You can do a lot worse than Jacoby Brissett. You pay Jacoby Brissett a few $1 million to sit on the bench and teach the kid. You can do a lot worse than Jacoby Brissett. Man, I hope the hire gets us to the next level. By the way, the Eagles talking today was very hopeful. His game plan, accountability, and passion for the game spews leadership in a coach. Authenticity, credibility, knowledge, and excitement. All those things came across from DeMeco Ryans today. You can't say that about basically you can't say all of that has occurred from a coach at the same time in recent Texans history. I'm okay with a veteran bridge QB for a year or two and get a lot of playmakers this year and grab a QB next year's draft like Quinn Ewers. I want a QB this year, even if it's Richardson or Levis. I just want a QB this year. I want to get this thing rolling. I want to get this thing started. Because if that guy's not the QB, then you need to figure it out quick and then start figuring out about the next quarterback. After this. Joe Blue, I like Zay Flowers. Wide receiver class is deep. Wide receiver class is going to be deep forever. Again, I think just because that's the way the game's played now. You're going to get good wide receivers every year. There's going to be kind of different levels to those guys. Like this year's class is not going to be as good as last year's class, which had Olave and Garrett Wilson be amazing from the beginning. Jahan Dotson started the year really good. Jamison Williams is going to be an absolute ass kicker. So it's a deep wide receiver class, just varying levels of the wide receivers compared to other years. Draft receiver in the first round, how would you feel about drafting Josh Downs with pick 33? Downs is an interesting player, and I wonder where he's going to end up via the draft process. If he tests really well, he could be a guy that's like, that like borderline first, second guy. If he doesn't, or something doesn't click right in the process, or other guys kind of blow past him, could maybe be a late second. Look, Caserio was cool trading up into the second round last year. So just because they pick at 33 something doesn't mean they can't move around in that first round again. Let's see what DeMeco and his staff could do with Davis Mills. I mean, poor guy had Lovey and Cully. Yikes. I'd like to see if Davis Mills has got something. I hope somebody else finds it. Thoughts on A-Chain? Not sure where he's going. Like him as a prospect, home run hitter. Doesn't excite me as some other running backs in the draft. And if he moves into sort of those middle rounds, I'd maybe feel more comfortable with a different guy in the later rounds than maybe middle. But him in the late rounds, swing. The guy's a super talent, physical freak. So take a swing. Stephen Williams, Deron Payne. Yeah, Payne's interesting. Payne is interesting from a defensive tackle standpoint. I don't know if they want that type of guy at defensive tackle. I really don't know what they want to put next to Malik Collins. They want to put another pass rusher? Do they want to put a primary run stopper, which kind of feels like Payne's deal? I don't know. Deron Payne's interesting. He's going to be expensive too. Are we going with Perez 88 for this name? It only makes sense, Bryce to pair at DeMeco. The franchise QB start new, fresh, elite wide receiver at 12, or pick Bijan if he's there, but doubt it. We'll see. I think Bijan's going 10 to the Eagles. Like I told everybody I'm gonna do a mock draft this year. I'm mocking Bijan to the Eagles. So Deron Payne and a center is who I want in free agency. Garrett Bradbury is the name that I saw. It was the top 100. It was Pro Football Focus's top 100 list. Brad Spielberger. And Garrett Bradbury was a guy he said can't pass protect, but was really good in the rushing game. So I do wonder if that maybe be a big emphasis there. The centers were just not very good. And folks loving the Deron Payne situation. Deron Payne. Another Alabama guy. Tremaine Edmonds and maybe Mecole Hardman. Wide receivers, interesting. I don't like free agent wide receivers. I'd be interested in Mecole. Dang, I almost missed this. Hey, if you missed anything, man, the replay is going to be on YouTube, so you can catch it whenever you want. I'm done with the Texans. They don't give Davis Mills another chance to start this season. Sorry. I think he'll be back, though. If you're done with him, I don't believe you. Deron Payne, Jesse Bates, Jimmy Ward. So, Deron Payne. Again, another Deron Payne thing. Do I need to look more into Deron Payne to figure this thing out? Everybody likes Deron Payne? We might do something called, what about free agency files? And we do basically a 10, 20-minute live on free agent every now and then. We'll do that one of those on Deron Payne. I got some buddies that work in Washington. I'll give them a call and figure out a little bit more about what Deron Payne's deal is. Bates and Ward are interesting. We talked about this on the live last night. Petry's a safety. He's one of your starting safeties. The other spot is sort of up for grabs. Maybe it's another draft pick. Maybe it's a low-paid veteran, or maybe it's an expensive veteran. Well, Jimmy Ward played for DeMeco. So if he wants to pair Jimmy Ward with Jalen Petry, expensive, but that's one hell of a safety group. So then your safety group is Jalen Petry and Jimmy Ward and Derek Stingley and Steven Nelson, with Jonathan Owens as a backup, with Desmond King as a backup. Like, those six guys are the secondary. I mean, sign me up. I'll take that. It's a good suggestion there, Nathan. Jesse Bates, Bengals safety. Probably better. I mean, no, not probably. It's better than Jimmy Ward, but the familiarity maybe makes Jimmy Ward an intriguing one. Frank, you're kind, man. Thank you. Love the late night podcast. You guys are kind, man. We got over 120 people in here at 1:43 in the morning talking Texans. So, yeah, this team, and talking about this team and rooting for this team and following this team is about to be so gosh darn fun, man. And DeMeco and this coaching search has sort of lit the fuse, and we haven't even gotten to the fireworks yet, man. These late night shows save lives, man. Seriously. T-Rex, thank you, man. You're kind to say that. I enjoy doing these. I'd be up playing freaking Apex Legends if I wasn't doing this. So I'd rather talk to you guys and hang out and have some fun, talk Texans, man. Really would. Thank you for the kind words. Let's see Wade Phillips Kubiak around the team for DeMeco to be able to lean on for the advice. He said he's going to have old coaches on the staff. I do wonder who those old coaches are going to be, man. I do wonder who those old coaches are going to be. I mean, having CJ or Young as QB can't really go wrong with either. I'm getting closer to the don't trade to 1 and take whoever's at 2. I still really like Bryce Young, though. I still like him enough and more than CJ Stroud. Steve, Darnell Washington, massive tight end from Georgia in round 4 or 5. I've seen Darnell Washington mocked in the first round. Washington is 6'7". He's going to test well, I believe. Seems like an athletic freak. Does not have a ton of receiving success at Georgia, mainly because A, they didn't throw the ball a bunch, and B, when they were throwing to a tight end, they're throwing to Brock Bowers, who's going to be a top 10 pick next year. in next year's NFL draft. Darnell Washington, I don't know what to make of him yet. He's a watch the draft process guy play out. See all the veterans there support them. It's going to make the new guys have to respect and listen, play hard for him. But I think these new guys are going to be pumped to have a coach them hard, man. Coach them hard, respect them, know what they're doing. Heidi, appreciate this comment here. It seems like great teams have great tight ends and that can catch the ball. Kelsey, Gronk, so on. The two teams in the Super Bowl, Travis Kelsey and Dallas Goedert are their tight ends. The four teams that were the last four teams standing. Hayden Hurst played really well for the Bengals this year. That's a former first-round pick. And obviously George Kittle. You look at some of these teams, man, I do think tight end and having a good one is so much more necessary than it used to be because you have to find an advantage in the offense. You have to find a mismatch. Guys are too athletic and too fast and too good. You have to find a size advantage, and the tight end is where you can get that. I think initially the Texans are going to be tight end by committee. So maybe Akins is back, Tegan Quateriano, Brevin Jordan, and then a free agent tight end. So I don't know that they're going to have some sort of big investment in tight end yet. Dalton Kincaid, who is the Utah tight end, is very good, maybe a first rounder. Michael Mayer, who is the Notre Dame tight end, is fun. And if he was there at 33, run the card up. I'd maybe take him at 12. I don't love tight ends that high, but I'd maybe take him at 12. I think Nick and DeMeco are going to have the best draft in team history. Get a great quarterback and use the other 11 picks on some good players. They got a good starting point. I agree on Bijan to the Eagles. He may not be there at 12, man. God, he may not be there at 12. What do you want to spend on Tremaine Edmonds if available? Saw him, I think $12 to $15 million was the average that Pro Football Focus put on there for him. Expensive. Kind of got to figure out if he's exactly DeMeco's type of guy. This is about Deron Payne, I guess. Yeah, he had 8.5 sacks this year as a run-stopping DT, man. That's powerful. He's Bowser, elite-level strength to help run the defense. Man, Deron Payne, if he's going to start ripping off sacks, whatever he makes in free agency might be might be not enough, Might be not enough. Imagine Deron Payne alongside Jalen Carter, Trey Lance behind center, quitting with the 12th pick. I don't like this that much. How about Bryce Young with the second pick and Deron Payne inside with Malik Collins and Miles Murphy on the outside to go along with Jordan Addison falling to 33. Maybe. Remember Houston Texas fans hyperventilating when the Texans let Will Fuller go. Yeah, I kind of wish they traded him for a third-round pick the year that the Green Bay wanted him. Thoughts on Dalton Schultz? He's a free agent. Expensive, started the year slow, got going at the end. Really solid player. I'd spend on Dalton Schultz. I would. Pass a little do-it-all guy. Plus, intriguing guy to watch because he wears this neck thing that's supposed to stop concussions and head injuries. So maybe he's less susceptible to injuries. I don't know. Today would be perfect show the new uniforms or the red helmets on stage signing more usage. I noticed this too, Jose, and I mentioned this to somebody. The red helmets were not there by accident. I believe the red helmets are going to be much more prevalent than what we've seen. Yes. Perez, you're a great analyst on sports. Cody, respect your opinions. That's why we're here watching late Texans party all weekend. Thank you, man. Kind, too nice. You guys, we're gonna have a lot of fun on this channel. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Combine needs to have a measurement for arm strength, like a radar gun at maximum distance. Yeah, that was a man. Who was the arm strength radar guy the other day? Hell, they did it to Bryce Young. Somebody ahead of the Sugar Bowl was like, yeah, the radar gun, and then he went out there and just smashed him. Sean, Mike Gesicki at tight end, Bradley Bozeman at center, Tremaine Edmonds would be my top 3, Javon Hargrave and Deron Payne. Do you got all these guys? You'd have no more money left, but you'd have a lot better team. That's for sure. That's for sure. Haven't caught the Shrine game. Just plain Dave. I haven't caught the Shrine game. Been watching some Senior Bowl practice stuff, but haven't caught the Shrine game. Receiving tight end is huge. Yeah, it feels like successful offenses have receiving tight ends that are average to great. I don't think you have to have the most amazing tight end in the world. You don't have to have Gronk 2.0, but you need somebody that can do a little bit. Say what you want about Nick, but he's seriously good at talent eval, free agency trades, in my opinion. A little bit better at talent eval for guys coming out of college than guys that are in the NFL. He's had some in the NFL misses. I also think we're going to see a totally different Caserio because he's got more money. He doesn't have stuff to clean up. He knows the direction the franchise is going in. I think we're going to see a much better Nick Caserio going forward. I hope so. We need it. Love how Cal brought up draft capital along with all the money for free agency. Yeah, I mean, DeMeco brought up draft capital a couple times too. Tight ends a must. Without Tegan Quintero played great at the end of the season. Just needs better coaching. OC. Yeah, needs to stay healthy in practice too. Missed a lot of OTAs, missed a lot of training camp, and I think and missed some time this year. Needs to stay healthy in practice. He'll get better that way. Have you heard about the new uniforms, baby blue part of it? I do believe you'll see some sort of Oilers-esque color to it. I can't say for sure exactly where or how. Pat's always had a jumbo receiver. Yeah, they did. Does Bryce have an arm then? Yes, Bryce can make every NFL throw. The strongest arm in this class is Will Levis, but Bryce can make every NFL throw. I am not worried about that. Frank, don't do this to me. Jake Asman always talking about Cal's pants. He had pants on for the presser. He had some snazzy boots, too. Love you on the other show and doing great things on this show. Keep up the good work. Big dog, appreciate you, which is a go-to phrase for how I talk to people. I drop a big dog on a lot of people. I believe he's talking about Landry Locker show. Nathan mentioned in Landry as well. Go subscribe to Landry's channel. Landry does a really good job. Jake puts up clips from our show. He does a really good job. Jake Asman. If you're a Jets fan, Jake's the best YouTube resource for you. We have a Texans Cap. I believe Cap and Trade is his official name on here. There's some really good Texans stuff here on YouTube, so we like to have some fun. Max Duggan with our last pick. Duggan's going to be a fun one to watch here. Let's see if he can do it in the NFL. Big difference. Yeah. You know what he had to do at college? Make tight window throws. CJ Stroud did not have to make as many tight window throws as Bryce did. I got to dig into both these guys and go watch and stuff like that. And I'm no QB expert, but I can go watch it and tell you what I think and give you my opinion. I got to go back and watch some more Stroud. I'm not to the level where I need to be on him just yet. Joe Blue, the super chat gets you to the top of the line. Do you address center in free agency? That's where I would go for free agency, for fixing the center spot. That's where I would go, is in the free agency. So the reason I'd go free agency for the center is Kenyon Green is going to be a second-year player, and A.J. Cann is going to be, he's in his second year as a veteran. I'd like a veteran in there so that you have guys that are 2 years or more into their NFL careers when you're lining up that offensive line. So you'd have maybe best left tackle in football, Laramie Tunsil. Trent Williams is that guy, but Tunsil's hot on his heels. Second year, hopefully bounce back candidate, Kenyon Green. Veteran center, veteran right guard at A.J. Cann. And if A.J. Cann is your fifth best offensive lineman, you're in a good spot. And then Titus Howard, who was nails out there at right tackle this year. So I would rock with a free agent center. And I'm scrolling through a list right now to get you the name that Pro Football Focus tossed out there. The Browns center. Joe, thank you for the super chat. If you super chat, you go straight to the top of the line. Ethan Posich. Let me make sure I got the name right. But he's the Brown center. And yeah, Posick. Ethan Posick. Been very good for the Browns this past couple of years. Expensive. Gonna check in at, almost $10 million guaranteed. Or $10 million a year with a little over $10 million guaranteed. But yeah, Joe, I'd go free agent center. And Posick is the most Posick? Did we just do that? Posick. Posick's the most complete guy. I mentioned Garrett Bradbury. PFF had him real low on their list. And real low on their list and said he wasn't good at pass blocking. And the Browns have spent too much money on the rest of their offensive line, so they're probably going to let Posick go. Thank you for the super chat, Joe. Appreciate it. If you have a super chat, you go to the top of the line, or top of the thing here. We'll answer a few more questions, and then we'll call it a night. I know we got people sitting strong, talking strong, standing strong here tonight. At some point, I need to get some rest here, so I can do this again late tomorrow night as well. Darren, yeah, Bryce has been doubted a little bit. He's also been, highly touted throughout his time as well. They need to bring in young guys in free agency. Yeah, I mean, guys hitting their first big deal, they're expensive usually, but they're usually pretty good. Texans know how to bring a fan base back with a bang. They pulled me back in. Happy to have you back. Hit the subscribe button down below. There's plenty more to come where that came from. Someone has to trade up to get Bryce from Chicago, then heck, maybe Houston. Yeah, I mean, I was talking with Jake on this about the show, which, by the way, ESPN 97.5, 92.5, the Wheelhouse, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Myself, Jake Asman, Brad Kellner, Andrew Carlson is our producer. You saw Andrew in here in the chat earlier today. We had a lot of fun on the show. We talk a lot of Texans. We talk a lot of Houston sports. We have a lot of fun. I was talking to Jake the other day. I'd trade 33 right now to the Bears for the number one pick. Wouldn't be fun, but I'd trade 33 for it. I think CJ would be okay in the Shanahan Kubiak style offense. I wouldn't be too bummed if we can't get Young. Yeah, it's a good fit. They're both going to be good fits. I'm excited to see who the OC is. Jim, damn Stoots, you still live? I am, Jim. Damn, Jim, you still watching? Love it. Love it. Over 100 people in here hanging out. I appreciate y'all. No, Lance does not have cancer. Hell no, we can't get the Oilers colors or the team. Love you, Blue always. That's Houston for life, not Tennessee. Yep. They extend LT. You think they also offer Titus a big contract? I think Titus is very replaceable. I think it would be better to extend Laramie and Titus than try to replace one of them. That would be my thought. It's almost that time, Jeffrey. You know it. It's almost that time. We'll get to it here in another one, in a few. Kirksey and Roy Lopez, biggest disappointments on defense. Haven't really talked about upgrading the linebacker. The linebacker room's got to get better. I wonder if Kirksey's going to stay on the team. Roy Lopez, I have a theory on Roy Lopez. Nobody has told me this. I just have a theory. I think Roy Lopez lost too much weight. This year, and that's why he got kind of pushed around a little bit compared to his rookie season. Oh, just plain Dave hits it again for the super chat. Super chat. I will get a soundboard. We will play funny sounds on this thing. Okay? I will figure out how to do that. I'm going to have to bring in some experts on that. First time in a long time, I'm excited for the upcoming season and the draft. We got coaching hiring cycles. We got free agency. We got the draft. We got OTAs, which I'm going to be there in person, watching it, giving you all the observations. We got training camp later this summer, which I'll be there. Observations, giving up to y'all here, right here on YouTube. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. Just plain Dave, man. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Super chat gets you to the top. I'll answer your question right away. Thank y'all for watching. This is fun, man. I really do have so much fun. I hope you guys have some fun as well watching these. Want to continue, and I think Landry always talks about this on his channel. We want to build a community of Texans fans here on YouTube that just have a blast. That we talk some Texans, and we have a fun in free agent. We have fun talking free agency and the draft, and during the summer we're doing look backs and look forwards and this and that. We want to build a community. I want you guys to have some fun in the comments. I want you guys to get to know each other in the comments, and we're going to have a lot of fun stuff on this channel. So I really appreciate that. Get some rest, coach. We get this party going on Friday night. Hey, man, it might be even later when we get started on Friday night. You never know. You never know. Andrew, in for the long haul. See you at the office tomorrow, big dog. Yes, sir. I'll see you tomorrow. Andrew does a incredible job producing our show. Works very hard. We do not tell him how good he is enough. Andrew, you do very good at your job. Joe Blue, players love DeMeco, born leader, leader of men. Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, I'm wrapping it up. That's it for me. To all the Super Chat people, Just Plain Dave, Joe Blue, our very first one that started the night, which was my first ever Super Chat, who I'm scrolling up to make sure I get it, Matt Marr. Y'all are incredible. Thank you so much for those. Thank you for everybody for the interaction in the comments. Be kind to each other in the comments, okay? Don't try to get. I saw some yelling and some screaming in the Texans presser comments. Don't do that. Don't do that. Thank y'all. This is fun, man. This is fun. We had a fun night, and we're gonna have more fun nights like this. And I'm trying to find that one comment. Here we go. We're gonna have more fun more fun nights like this. Lots of fun stuff planned. If y'all have ideas for what you want the YouTube to have, some of the ideas, hey, I want a little bit more of this. Hit the Twitter account, @Cody_Stutes. Send me a DM. The DMs are open. Okay? They're not for sliding. They're not for bad babes sliding in wanting to date me. They're for talking sports. Okay? @Cody_Stutes on Twitter. You got some ideas. You got some things you want to say. You can also leave it in the comments down below. Comments are great. Likes are great. Subscribes are great. Thank y'all so much. Jeffrey knows it at this point, and if you don't know it, learn it. That's how we're finishing up each of these late night ones. Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk to you soon.